Greetings. This is part 3 of the lessons I have learned from reading Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I must iterate that I'm coming from using the principles of the art of war from a introspective perspective, meaning I'm using these principles to dive within myself, to learn about myself and what I'm capable of, and organize the energies that compose who I am using the principles of the art of war. So I will start in chapter 1 with verse 12. It says, "Therefore, in your deliberations, when seeking to determine the military conditions, let them be made on the bias of a comparison. In this wise," verse 13 says, "which of the two sovereigns is endued with the moral law?" You can interpret the sovereign as being, in our modern day times as the president, in ancient times, as the emperor. But we can look at this from a mystical standpoint or a metaphysical point of view and see the sovereign as being our God, that deific expression in which we pay homage to, the life force, the ground of existence, whatever your philosophical persuasion as it pertains to a grand architect, can be applied here. So, and if that sovereign inspires us, to do great things to the point that we will give our life for those principles we hold dear to our life, then it's a possibility in this system of things that sovereign is going to win. He who has the most people willing to make sacrifices for a cause greater than themselves, if they are organized and they have the proper funding and capability, then most likely that sovereign is going to obtain victory. So the morale of the people and inspiring the people to dig within themselves and be a part of something greater than themselves is ideal as it pertains to warfare. And and then it says 13, it says, which of the two which of the two generals has the most ability? So, this is simple. When we're comparing two generals, our higher self and our lower self, which of the two is more skilled? Which has the most ability? Which could affect our lives more positively? Which would be more destructive? So we need to understand what general, not just a particular person, but a rule, a standard of measurement by which we govern ourselves and we engage, effectively and properly, in, society and in any endeavor that we engage in. We must do it with skill. So which of the generals has the most ability? Because a general organizes the troops. He makes sure that the troops are properly trained and that, every, aspect, of military strategy that those adhering to these teachings are able to carry out effectively those teachings, those implements. So that's very important. So it says 3 of 13 says, with whom lie the advantages derived from heaven and earth. We know that heaven, from the art of war perspective, it symbolizes the weather, you understand, and the temperature. And earth symbolizes the terrain. So we know that from our perspective, from a analytical perspective, heaven is our mental state as far as our temperament, whether it's we have a hot temper or whether we have a pretty calm temper, whether we have knowledge daytime or whether we're ignorant nighttime. Um, Daytime, whether we're just plain civilians, nighttime, we understand the occultic mysteries associated with combat in an esoteric expression. So they are night and day are interchangeable as far as our perspectives, whereas day can symbolize intelligence, night can symbolize ignorance, whereas day can symbolize the surface, and night can symbolize the mysteries of the depths, and those who can navigate in that place that's mysterious to those who are not initiated. So the darkness can symbolize initiation, whereas the light can symbolize the surface, the appearance of things. So we understand that earth symbolizes terrain, like you have to navigate, whether you're having to do combat in a hilly, mountainous terrain, or whether you're having to do combat in a swamp. Knowing the ground is very important as it pertains to addressing conflict, because certain techniques won't be applicable or even appropriate for certain terrain. The same thing that we understand that the terrain can also symbolize mental terrain, meaning that if a person has been through a lot of trauma, there's a lot of steep mountains and rugged terrains on their brain due to trauma. And so when you're engaging in conversation with that person, trying to help them, you have to be aware of the ground of their mind and how to effectively navigate that terrain of that person's mind to get to them a message, that they can receive it. So knowing the earth, knowing the terrain of a person's mind, your own mind, is, auspicious as it pertains to preparing oneself to engage in conflict. So that's my understanding of with whom lie the advantages, meaning that you can use the advantages of your temper. You can use the advantages of your mental state, you using what you got and being realistic as you study yourself, and your strengths and your weaknesses, and you use them both to defeat the opponent. Even if that opponent is yourself, use your weaknesses to understand how strong you are. So, that's my understanding. Those that we must realize that there are advantages in strength and in weaknesses. And we must be able to use them both to obtain our goal. So it says 4, on which side is discipline most rigorously enforced? We know that a boxer that continues to train, to discipline himself, to work out when he don't feel like working out, to abstain from sexual intercourse, before matches, to reserve one's vigor, is an expression of discipline. Meaning that apart from gaining muscles and combat skills, you are training your mind to delay yourself from instant gratification for a gratification more worthy, and more indicative of your higher self and higher pleasures than just these low base pleasures. So discipline as it pertains to engaging, whether you're gonna win or lose, a battle or a war could depend on your discipline. So for the spiritual practitioner, discipline is one's seat. Discipline is one's glory. And it's a reflection of your higher self. So discipline introduces us to our higher self and the possibility of victory. So determining which side, and then it says which army is stronger. So When we're talking about stronger, there are different types of strength. There's physical strength, where one could have overwhelming physical strength. There's mental strength, and then there's spiritual strength. So depending on the strength in which we choose to look at it will determine whether we win or lose. You understand? Because we need strength. We need strength in the form of, like one of my favorite wrestlers, Mick Foley, used to say, testicular fortitude. But we need those things. That's the type of strength: courage, fortitude, perseverance, resilience. This strength is stronger than muscles. So we need to harness and become aware of those spiritual strengths that will increase our physical strength and almost make our technique mystical in its application. And then it said, on which side are officers and men more highly trained? Even in our society, you can go to school and become a doctor. You have to do so many years and get so many degrees, before you become a doctor. You understand? And your skill is recognized and you're certified. So having a skill or being highly trained could determine the effectiveness of your strategy. Your thoughts, make sure your thoughts are highly productive. Make sure your intentions are highly productive. You understand? Make sure that they are keen and useful in improving your situation and educating you about yourself and your surroundings. So which is highly trained. And then it says the last one, 7, says, in which army is there a greater constancy, both in reward and punishment? You have to know, you have to consistently, put things into place that will be incentives that would encourage you to continue to train, to continue to be disciplined, to continue to be aware of your state. And your inner self will punish you, when you start to lapse on your discipline, when you start to lapse in your training. Something on the inside of you will alert you that you're slowly but surely slipping, off the wagon. So you need that system of checks and bounds when it comes to assessing yourself analytically. And it said, 15 says, the general. He said, 14 says, by means of these 7 considerations, I can forecast victory or defeat. The general that hearkens to my counsel and acts upon it will conquer. Let such a one be retained in command. The general that hearkens not to my counsel nor acts upon it will suffer defeat. Let such a one be dismissed. When you have the teachings and you know the necessary criteria that will help one attain victory, and you don't use it, then you're going to lose. In life, in all, realms of existence. This is the end of part 3, which I could go on and on and on, elaborate and go deeper and deeper and deeper and give examples. But I'll stop here. Namaste.